Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talking with Ty, Season 2, Episode 5. Guys, can you believe we are already to Episode 5? I am so excited today. I probably lead with that every time that I start off telling you guys how excited I am to talk to the person that we're going to be having the conversation with today. For those who are, this is your first time tuning in. Talking with Ty is an unscripted lifestyle podcast that focuses on the story behind the brand. Every Tuesday, a guest is invited to have a conversation with me to touch on a personal side of life. I believe that everyone has a story, and it is our story that truly connects us to other people. I go searching, guys, in the multifamily industry, and I look for people that are aligned with the purpose that I'm aligned with. And those are the people that I pick up the phone, I send them a message on LinkedIn, I send them a text message, at Alexander Jack you, and I reach out to them and I invite them to share the story, and they always say yes. And I know that these are my people that's calibrated to my voice because it's always a yes, Ty. I will be happy to get on and share. So today we have an amazing guest that's going to be on, and he's going to share some very profound things with us. If you follow him on LinkedIn, on any other social media platform, you will see he is just a wealth of knowledge and positive attitude. And for once, I know there's a lot of dads out there, so don't kill me. But usually you see where there's moms talking about career and being a mom and balancing it all. But today we get to talk to a dad that's doing it. So before I bring our guest on, just a little bit about me, guys. I am your host, Ty Jackson. I am a speaker. I am the association executive for the Arkansas Apartment Association. I'm a motivator. I am training to be a coach right now. I encompass and embody just so many things, but the most important thing, I am passionate about the multifamily industry. I'm passionate about being a light in this industry. I'm passionate about being a voice in this industry. And that's the main reason that this podcast was created and this platform was created, is just to change someone out there, to give hope and to give transformation. We are not on here just bringing knowledge. We are trying to transform lives and to give hope in this industry and any other industry that's out there. So today, my guest is Tony Sousa. So Tony is our special guest for episode 5. He is the president at RPM Living and a true powerhouse in property management industry. With an impressive career spanning over 20 years in multifamily, Tony has garnered invaluable experience and wisdom that he's going to be sharing with us today. Today, Tony and I are going to dig deep, and we're going to talk a little bit about navigating leadership and people management into the future. We're going to talk about balancing being a dad, husband, and a successful professional, the importance of reputation and relationships, lessons learned over nearly 20 years in multifamily. And then Tony and I are going to wrap up, and we're going to talk about where the industry is going in the future. So without further ado, I know you guys are sitting at your desk. If you would stand up on your feet, push that chair back and stand up and help me welcome Tony to the stage.
That was an impressive intro and monologue. Ty, it's great to be here with you. Wow, that was something.
It is great to have you here with me, Tony. I always like to start out and let our listeners know Tony and I do not know each other. This is our very first time meeting. But I want to let you know, Tony, when I was talking to some of my girls and I'm like, okay, who should I interview? Who should be my next person? Like, we got this part, we got Melissa D. White, we got James, we got Alex. So somebody was like, do you know Tony? I'm like, no, I don't. They're like, do you know Tony Sousa? I'm like, I don't know Tony. So let me go look for Tony and let me see what he's about. So I stalked your LinkedIn page. And I want to tell you, I have a page full of, I take notes when I'm going to have a conversation with somebody. And some of the things that I wrote down, it says, being a dad brings me great joy. It teaches me daily lessons and it gives me purpose. My work, the people, and the results. Focus on that and your reputation will grow. You said one time, just because your progress may be slower than you anticipated, doesn't mean the size of your goals have changed. Progress is progress. Small steps are different from small goals. The
All
things
true.
that every morning when and you're very active on LinkedIn, I want to say shout out
Yeah.
to you
Yeah.
for that because social media is like having a part-time job. But every time I log in and I see these messages from you, and sometimes that's how I'm starting my morning. Most of us are on social media. And what you put into your brain is usually what you output all day.
Yeah.
And so to see those messages and the things that you say and how you talk about balance and being a dad and a professional, and not just a professional, but a leader in
Yeah.
this industry, and how it's all about the people, it makes me want to come to RPM Living and get a job. I'm like, okay, I will work with Tony
Text
because
me. Text me. We'll find you a spot.
well, because I've been in the industry for so long and I craved for leadership and management that put the people first instead of the numbers. And finally, in my career, and I always pay homage to Apartment Finder and Michelle Childers
Mhm.
and Marsha Bollinger, because I was finally in a spot where somebody cared more about me as a person, and
Yeah.
I outperformed the competition because the people were focused on me.
Yeah.
So because I can go on and on, we know how I get when I get a microphone. But Tony, tell us, who is Tony?
Well, gosh, I don't know how I follow that act. You're an incredible person, Ty. You do a great job here. I'm just happy to be here with your audience and with you. And who am I? Gosh, it's sort of a weird question when you have to answer it about yourself. I mean, I've been in this industry almost 20 years, and I've seen good economies and bad economies, and I've been a part of all facets of multifamily. I started on the leasing floor, as some know, so I was able to learn early, get my leasing chops as a lease consultant. I spent some time not only in operations but in the marketing and training divisions in my career as well. So I got a pretty early jump to understand kind of how those all work together: operations, marketing, training, and how, or at least how they should. So I got a lot of good experience early in my career. And now, have the great, pleasure of working with RPM Living, which has been an incredible experience for me over the last year and a half. I've been in Texas. I'm originally from California. I've been in Texas almost 9 years now, and so the South has treated me really well. Some piece of advice that I got from some friend of mine, actually from Arkansas, it was like, don't bring all that Cali swag to Texas, because Texas has its own swag, and he was right. But the problem is, you are who you are. So I'm still wearing a flower shirt today, and I am who I am. But the state, the city, I live in San Antonio, Texas, has been incredibly warm and inviting to me and my family, and obviously so has the multifamily community as well. So I just, I think what I try to do is just live every day with gratitude and thankfulness for the opportunities and the people I get to speak to, like you today, and people on my team every day, clients I get to work with, and of course, different arenas and opportunities within the multifamily world, whether it be panels, podcasts, conferences. I do my best to never take any of that for granted, especially even this show. So I just I've made the choice in my mind as I've gotten older to live and focus on kind of this attitude of gratefulness and thankfulness every day. And you're going to face challenges, but I think if you live with that perspective, it helps. Also, you mentioned my content and daily content. It helps provide the motivation and the fuel to provide um, you know words that may come to my mind or heart, and a lot of that stuff, Ty, I'll tell you, is often just encouraging me to stay focused on what's most important. I just happen to share it with the greater community, and it's been just so rewarding and humbling to see so many really appreciate some of the things I have to say, because ultimately I'm really journaling for myself to encourage myself. So that's a little bit of who I am.
Well, you know what? I think that when you journal and you read something and it resonates with you so well and it changes your attitude for the day, as leaders, we have a responsibility to share that with the people who follow us. Because one of the things that I always focus on when I move throughout this world is that it's bigger than me.
Yeah.
And if I focus on it's bigger than me, then I'm always running back to the masses with the information. So number one, California guy, you exude California, and I am here for the for the floral shirt. Let me let you know that.
This was a special tie edition. I knew I'd be on today. So
So yes, I am all about flowers. Flowers is just like a solid color to me. Floral goes with every single thing. So continue your Cali swag. You get the permission from a Southern girl like me
I
to
appreciate that.
continue the Cali swag. So San Antonio, love it. Has some of the best food,
Yeah,
margaritas, and shopping.
and people.
Yeah, you know what? Southerners, I was just in Texas this weekend, and everybody holding the door open for you. Have a nice day. You get so used to sometimes the world moving so fast and those things not happening
Yeah.
that it's almost like, whoa.
Well, and so I'll add to that. So I'm a city slicker, right? I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area specifically, and I went to school in Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles for almost 10 years. I was an actor. I was a different, did a lot of different things, but I lived in the big city. And when I first moved to San Antonio, Texas, which a lot of folks are like, wow, that's a big change. And looking back on it now, yeah, I think it was. And a few stories that I was going to say is I just remember a lot of that being very different. My first 90 days in San Antonio from the West Coast and big cities and busy freeways. And I'm not sure I appreciated it initially. I actually found myself growing impatient with the long grocery lines and conversations that seemed to be about nothing. And I remember telling my wife, who's from Texas, I was like, "This is different here." And initially, I'm not sure if I like loved it. I've come to really love it and really appreciate, I think, what the South, and sort of the Southern charm is about. And I think it's really kind of helped well round me as someone sort of from the coast, if you will, or a city slicker, if you will, to really kind of be more well-rounded and be able to smell the roses at times and understand and appreciate some of the small things in life. And we'll get into it, but being a dad has also helped me understand and appreciate some of the small things in life that are important. That I think if you're too busy or caught up on your phone too much, which I'm sure we all are at times, you miss those opportunities to smell the flowers or the roses, right? So yeah,
Yes.
so it's been good. It's been great for me. It's helped me mature as a professional and as a person, and to not discount the little things. And I think that's also helped me with what we talked about, kind of living this life of thankfulness and gratefulness every day.
We were definitely going to dig into your dag role, but let's back up a little bit. You said that you were an actor, and now we have you in multifamily. So, from my experience, because I've been in this industry for a long time, and I stumbled upon a leasing job and was like, oh, this seems cool.
Yeah.
And that's usually the story I get from everybody. How did you even get started? How did we get you? How did we
Well,
get you from the acting industry over here? Because you got to act too. You got to be a
well,
good
you
actor.
and I both know it wasn't the pay, right? So listen, I was a struggling actor sharing a bedroom with another buddy of mine, and we weren't making a lot of money. We were auditioning every day, and I recently got engaged, and I knew she was the one, and she still is, almost 20 years in. And so, but I had to figure out how to probably make some more money and save some money on rent. And so the place that I lived, I thought I could do what I think they're doing on the leasing floor, and maybe I could do it even better. Don't tell them I said that. And so I applied, and the first interview, no one showed up. They actually had the office closed for lunch, and they forgot about my interview. And I say that not to sort of poo-poo on them or throw shade in any way. It actually was a moment in my young career that I think I could have probably. I probably need. It was a moment for me to be resilient, right? It was a moment for me to say I could have walked away and said, you know what, maybe this industry isn't for me. Maybe this industry is full of people that are disorganized and don't remember their appointments, and I don't want to be a part of that.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, the walk back to my apartment after the door was closed and they forgot about my interview was a somber one. It was one of self-reflection and tried to encourage myself to say, they're really missing out. But what I decided to do was reach back out, and we rescheduled, and the rest is history. I did get the interview again and got the job, and I got great mentorship and opportunities pretty quickly along the way, and here I am. So that's how that turned out. Did I ever look back on my acting career? A lot of people ask me that. Would you ever do a movie again? Would you ever act again? The answer is absolutely. But I'm just not allocating any resources or auditions, or I don't have an agent or anything like that. So if someone, out of the blue asked me to do a movie, I would probably go to RPM and say, hey guys, give me a couple of months. I need to shoot this film, but I'll be back, or I'll answer emails from Los Angeles or wherever we're shooting from. But I think that's highly doubtful in my career at this point.
Well, you know what? They heard it here first. If you're out there and you're looking for a young looking Brad Pitt to play a double in your movie, Tony said
That
it here today, then he is available. So
that is very
definitely.
generous. I do not think I'm a young looking Brad Pitt, but I'll take it, Ty. Thank you.
So,
Call my
Tony, to
agent.
my people out there that did start in the leasing role and they're like, I aspire to be a VP at a company one day. I want to maneuver through this industry. What what would you say to them? What would you say to that young leasing professional out there that's just like, I don't know what to do next? Or that property manager that's like, I've been in this role for a while. I feel stuck. I don't know how to make the next move.
Yeah, I think it's interesting now being in the positions I am, and where I am in my career, because if anyone's been following me for any amount of time, 5+ years, they've known that obviously I haven't been in this role, always, of course, and I've had to kind of navigate the terrain like everybody else, and I've had to navigate different corporate structures, and we'll call it what it is, politics for what they are, and personalities and people and bosses. And so, what I would encourage anyone that's listening is just to first and foremost be patient with yourself in the process. I think it's important to stay focused on the day-to-day work and details, but don't get stuck in the weeds too deep to where you can't elevate and see yourself and your career at a higher level, right? And that's been important for me to kind of just zoom out a little bit and say, okay, well, what do I want to do? Like, where do I want to go, and what impact do I want to make? And then I think when you answer those questions to yourself and have a bigger, broader perspective of where you want to go and what you want to do, then you can sort of zoom back in and make decisions and make efforts to slowly but surely chip away at that rock, that proverbial rock, that you're just every day making a little bit of progress every single day. And you mentioned it in a recent quote that I posted. Just small progress doesn't equate to small goals, right? And I think a lot of people confuse those sometimes, that if they're not making the progress that they thought they would in their mind in that moment, that their goals for some reason are compromised or different than what they originally were. That's not the case. You just have to assess the progress. Are you in the right environment? Are you with the right company? Are you around the right leadership? And ultimately, are you performing at the level that you need to? I recently posted something as well to try to do your best to outperform your job description, right? Yeah. So that's a piece of advice that I would highly recommend. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, have a mindset of, well, that's not in my job description, and my supervisor asked me to do that, and I'm not getting paid to do that, so I'm not going to do that. The best piece of advice, really, in most of the positions I've ever been in, I've been doing responsibilities that weren't in my job description. But I was willing to do that because I was learning, and I was growing, and I was getting mentorship. Maybe I wasn't getting sort of paid in that moment for doing some of those tasks or some of those projects, but I was learning, and that was almost invaluable for me, in my young career. And ultimately, what it allows for hiring managers or supervisors or other people to see you already doing something in a role that you want to be in without maybe getting compensated or the title yet, but they see you or envision you or can already see you doing a lot of that job. It becomes an easier decision for a hiring manager to say, yeah, that person would be great. They're already doing much of what we would expect of them. So let's have a conversation with them. Let's figure out how to get them there, because they either seem eager to learn how to do it, or they're already doing it and doing it pretty well. That makes a hiring manager's decision to promote you or give you an opportunity that much easier. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that is what you need to figure out how to do, is either within your current company or outside, is just, if someone sees potential in you,
Mm-hmm.
make it easy for them to say yes, right? Make it easy for them to promote you, or to say to their higher ups, this person would be great because essentially they're eager to learn, or they're already doing it. Let's make this happen for them. They would add great value to our company. And that's probably the best piece of advice. I think a lot of people get caught up again in the details of some of the tasks that they're being asked to do, and feel as though they're being taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, and the secret sauce is, the more skills and ability that you can learn and get as quickly as possible, that's only going to help you. You're not going to ever lose experience until you lose your mind, and hopefully you don't
Well,
lose it.
well, you know what? I think the key thing that you said in it, when you said zoom out, zooming out allows you, like you said, to see your future self. It allows you to see the bigger picture. And one of the things that we talk about in our activation call with Melissa D.
Yep.
White is having a conversation and sitting with your future self.
Right.
And if you can see your future self as the vice president or president of a company, then you can start to do those things right now to make preparation for that. And you won't have the spirit or attitude, well, that's not my job. They don't pay me to do that,
Right.
because that is the job that you aspire to have.
Right. Right.
So I love the word that you zoom out, people.
Right. Just like on your cell phone, right? You're zooming in, zooming out. I mean, you got to see the whole thing. And I think oftentimes we live our lives zoomed way in. And if you've zoomed way in on anything, it's not, the picture isn't clear, it's grainy, right? And so that analogy has been helpful for me as well. Just if you're zoomed way in micro, in a micro vision of what you're looking at, you can't really tell where you're at. You don't even know what you're doing. I mean, and if you think about just a picture or a resolution in a picture, if you're zoomed way in, you can't even tell if it's a beautiful picture or not, or what the story is.
Yeah.
All you can see is pixels, and you can't really even understand that. So, if there's anybody listening that may be way too zoomed in, have some courage to zoom out a little bit. And it does take courage, and it does take a mindset shift to zoom out a little bit to see the bigger picture. And sometimes that bigger picture isn't always glamorous, right? Like that bigger picture can be full of all sorts of images and things, and so, you want to pursue the things that you think you're aligned with and that you want to pursue. And of course, avoid any issues in that bigger picture that you want to avoid.
I love that. So, leadership and navigating leadership and managing people, the industry has changed, the world has changed.
Yep.
So, leading people is almost like being a social media influence. Attention is the new currency. You see leaders like yourself and posting on social media and staying relevant. That's not something that you have to do, is post on social media. But when the people in your company, they see you on there also, they're getting to know a different side of Tony, and getting to see, getting to feel like, really, I know you, because that's how I feel through looking at your social media. So how would you say times have changed, or how do you stay who you are in your company when it comes to leading and influencing?
Yeah, it's an interesting new world. We're definitely in the social economy, the attention economy that you refer to as well. And I recently said something or posted something about making sure that you focus on your day job, right? Keep the main thing. But at the end of the day, if you could also build a reputation that's visible, I think that's a good thing as well. And I think we see more and more leaders looking to be a part of this space. And essentially, categorically, I think it's sort of described as leading in private, which is kind of our customary normal job, right? Nobody knows what's going on. We're sort of leading and working with people and solving problems. Let's call it in private, not the public doesn't see what's going on. And then I think there's an element that a lot of leaders are really investigating is, how do I lead in public? And leading in public is definitely something that I have explored for a few years now. And it's it's a wild west out there. You got to be careful about what you say, especially if you have a lot of eyeballs tuning in, if you will, to what you have to say. You got to be careful about how you go about that. But if you're leading with authenticity and you're a genuine person, and you can write, somewhat well, I don't think you need to overthink it. I'm very mindful of what I post and what I write, because I understand there's a level of, we'll call it publicity or visibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be careful there for sure. You could probably make more mistakes privately or internally than you
Mm-hmm.
can publicly. You need to be really careful about that. And so if that's a space that leaders listening or that want to play in or be a part of, just know that understand the party, understand the party rules, the nature of the game, and be careful. But at the same time, I think there's incredible, while there's incredible downside and dangers, I think there's incredible upside, that you can really, I think, show an industry, maybe those outside of the industry, what your company believes, what you believe as a leader as well. I think there's tremendous opportunity, upside opportunity, to continue to do that, to be a magnet in a lot of ways to incredible talent across the country, that may want to be interested in working either with you or with your company. And you so sweetly, I think started today's show with saying, interested in RPM opportunities. So yeah, I'm mindful of that. And I think most people that are publicly leading and publicly building, a message and a culture and leading in public are mindful that it's at the end of the day attracting top talent to their organization and to themselves. And LinkedIn, at the end of the day, a lot of people call it a lot of different things, but it is, it's a career building platform. It's a recruiting platform. People are there primarily for professional advice, inspiration, job opportunities, and I think LinkedIn, from my understanding and some of my research, they want to continue to keep it that space. They don't want it to turn into another platform. They don't want it to be Facebook. They don't want it to be anything else. And I think the majority of us don't want it to be that either. Now, has there been a fine line of kind of riding this personal and professional content game? Yeah, and I take a lot of pride in, I think, having been out in front of that to be able to show that you can be a professional and you can also, show who inspires you, right? Your family and your loved ones, and that's not inappropriate. And there was a point, a couple of years back that I just thought, like, who makes these rules anyway? At this point, I'm going to contribute to making the rules, and that has been a fun adventure along the way.
I love the leading in public. We're in a day and time when authenticity is at its highest,
Yeah.
and leading in private sometimes is not who you are; it's who your company wants you to be. So leading in public, it will really expose some people. So, like you said, it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing.
Right.
But when it's a good thing, it's a great thing, because there's other people, and I don't want to go to the dad role just yet, because I feel like that's going to take us off into a whole nother conversation on its own. But when I see things like that, and me balancing being a mom in this industry, I can still resonate with the balancing of it all, being a successful professional, leading people, but also still having time for my family, and being able to balance all of that. So I love how you lead in public, and it brings people to you. And I'm sure the people who work for you, it's like, Tony is so cool. Like, when it's like working for a company and you never see the boss, you never see the CEO. When they come, they're just a figure that everybody is quiet and doing their work. But when you know them and you feel like we're friends, or we have a relationship that's not just, I work here, I'm just a number. You work harder as an employee.
Yeah,
You buy into the culture of the company. You buy into the vision of the leadership when you feel like it's a better relationship. So you said reputation. So let's keep going down that rabbit hole. The importance of reputation in relationships, because everybody knows that the multifamily industry, your reputation and your relationship. Now, yes, we want you to have all your NAAEI credentials and designations. We want you to have this, that, and the other. But it is the relationship and the reputation in this industry that opens up doors for you or shuts them. What do you think? on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's everything, and I think reputations are interesting, right? Reputations take a long time to build in a really positive way, and that's where I think I started early on with the patient word, right? To be patient. Building a reputation is like building a big house, right? Brick by brick by brick, and and it's also the same house that can be torn down really quickly. And so, it really holds you accountable to doing the right thing in every interaction. For me now, with this level of visibility, I can't be Mr. Optimistic online and then come into my office every morning being a total jerk. I really can't. Not that I am, but I have bad days too, right? That I'm just not super happy, or you know kids aren't acting right, or whatever, right? We're all human. We're all dealing with stuff. But I'll tell you, and I mentioned this before, is that some of this has been a really great thing for me, because I hold myself accountable to myself, right? That if I'm going to build sort of this reputation of being a positive, optimistic, innovative thinker, well, I better be that. And that has been challenging and rewarding at the same time. And so that's the reputation piece from my perspective. Relationships, yes, I think especially on the sales side or supplier side, there's a lot of discussion about this R word, relationships. The interesting thing about relationships, if you really think about them, they're often the strongest relationships we have are two-way streets, right? To where both parties are giving as much value as they can into the relationship, and as being as self-sacrificing as they can. Whether that means a spousal relationship, a friendship, whatever the case is, the most vibrant and best relationships that I think anyone that may be listening today can think of in their own life is because their friend or their spouse or significant other gives the most of themselves to you, and you try to do that to them. And so I think professionally, how that works is I think oftentimes I think tone and messaging and even conversations in real life are not always two-way streets. I think people want to get out either product information or something about them or their company, and then when you have a chance to reply or have a dialogue, you could either tell through body language or other that they're not really even interested in what you have to say. And I'll tell you, that relationship is not a strong one. And so it goes both ways, and there's a lot of self-sacrifice to relationships. It's not always about you. And for me, I've tried to learn this young, in my career, is just to give value. For example, anyone that may have the opportunity to be on your show, and most of your guests are amazing. Well, all of them are really. I've listened to quite a few of your shows. I don't want to say most, because I'm sure there's a small segment that's like, what do you think I wasn't? But I'm saying, like, if you're a supplier or an operator or a leader that want to get on one of your podcasts, what's your intention, right? Like for me, genuinely, I hope you know that. I hope the audience knows this. Other than just having a platform to talk to some people that are into leadership and keeping it 100, there's no like hidden agenda here for me. I'm not trying to sell you anything. If by chance you're interested in joining RPM, awesome. Like, you know where to find me. Hit me on the DM, right? But I'm not trying to push anything here. And so I think especially on the supplier side, on the sales side, you got to be really careful about kind of what your intentions are. At the end of the day, listen, I mean, that's a big part of the job is to partner with and sell product, and that's your main job. But I think if you're giving just genuine and authentic value in everything you possibly to, participating, as you know, in association work and other things that don't have immediate return on investment from a true like professional standpoint, that it's still going to pay off. That value and time that you put into it is always going to pay off one way or another. And it may not just always be monetarily. It may not always be that they're going to be your biggest client, but it may open up opportunities for you to grow your career or be in a room that you otherwise wouldn't be here. And for example, I mean, just a lot of the stuff that I've done over the last so many years has me now meeting with the wonderful Ty, right? So you just don't know where you go or where you're going to be, and I don't think you try to overly control it either.
Yes. I love that you brought up the supplier side. I used to be on the supplier side with Finder, Apartments.com, and RentPath.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always tell young suppliers when I see them here at events and they got their backpack on, they got their flyers in the hand, I'm like, put it down,
Yeah.
put the stuff in the corner,
Yeah.
let them meet you.
Yeah.
That was my thing. I started out in this industry in Memphis as a finder rep, and I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
being a supplier. So only thing I had was me,
Yeah.
and it worked. And I told Michelle Childress when she hired me, I'm like, I'm not a sales girl. I've never sold anything, but I was a relationship
You
girl.
are. Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. And Marsha said, just go out there and out relationship everybody's high. We don't have the Kroger distribution. We don't
Right.
have the big magazine size book. We are the small digest reader. But what you have is you. And you go out there and you out relationship the competition. And if you are a supplier out there, I did not pay Tony to say that. And y'all know it's my pet peeve. When you show up and you have a hidden agenda and it's just about the sale, you're not going to get it unless they were like literally they were just about to call you before you walked in.
Well,
Other
yeah. I mean, and what I think it's important for those new to the supplier side is unfortunately the sale is so fragrant, or the pressure of the sale is so fragrant that you could smell it from the other side of the room, or and you feel it and you sense it. And on the operator side, you're almost inclined to guard yourself or to stay away from it, right? And so I think it's important, wonderful advice, and it's how you've been able to grow your wonderful career, and now be able to have such a guest list of different people come on your show is because, yes, I've never got a sense once in interacting with you for this wonderful podcast that you were trying to overly sell your podcast or you or anything else. I think you were just genuinely trying to connect with people you found interested in, and you think your audience would find some interest. So they can learn a lot from you, Ty.
I mean, that's spot on. And Tony said it, not me. You can learn a lot from Ty. So
Right.
before
I got your new promo.
we so before we go into our dad talk, there's one thing that I did want to ask you. With you coming out of California, being a city slicker, as you would say, and coming to the South, DE&I is such a huge topic in multifamily right now, and it's something it's a hot button right now. And with you being at a head of a company and coming from a place where maybe a lot of the things that you hear in the South, I'm not sure because I'm not from California,
Yeah.
and it could be the same. How do you navigate that space, or is it I mean, like, what do you think? Or did I
Yeah.
even? Am I
Yeah. Yeah.
asking you a question with that, or I don't want to leave you like, huh, Ty, what are you looking for?
Yeah, no. I'm well versed to be able to answer almost anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I understand your question. I come from the definitely the West Coast. Bigger cities, I think, have had more um, experience, progress in building diverse cultures and communities. And obviously, being from that part of the country, I was exposed to a lot of different things and cultures and people from all over the world. Being from San Francisco, Bay Area, at a very young age, I was just exposed to all sorts of things, and learned how to find the wonderful aspects of all of them, right? The love that's within, in all sorts of communities. And so I'm fortunate that I've had that experience. And I don't want to say, necessarily, the South or the market, is different because, again, the South has treated me wonderfully. But I understand, politically, in the country, how it's laid out. And this is definitely a topic of the day. And I understand that. And I think, ultimately I'll answer the question with maybe somewhat some vagueness for some, but ultimately for me, love wins out, right? And when you have love within your heart, and you love everyone, and you understand that, where you believe that, we're all created as humans to support each other and to love each other. You operate that way every day, and you see life through those lenses, regardless of what part of the country that you're in or what city that you're in. And so I don't think about it in those terms in regards to my day to day, that I happen to be in a different region of the country that, maybe is categorically a different, political color than another part of the country. I see people for who they are and the character in which they are, and I try to, you know, I know this is a professional podcast, but I just try to genuinely connect and love people where they are, and frankly for who they are, and I hope people are willing to do that for me in my life, because I'm not perfect either. So.
Yes, no, I love it. This is a real podcast. It is professional, but we keep it all the way real on here. And I think what you just said aligns with who I see that you are. And I think who a lot of people, like I said, I was in the Melanin and Multifamily group when your name was thrown out.
Yeah.
So it was by one of my girls that they're like, I think you should interview. Actually, it was Ashia Shepherd. She was
Yeah.
like, I think you should interview Tony. Like, he's very interesting. He says this, he says that. And
So sweet.
one of the things that I think you said one time, it was something about growing your brand. And that's when you were like, just focus on the people.
Yeah.
Like your brand, your reputation, it will grow from that. Not just focusing on your brand as, hey, I'm Ty Jackson, I'm the speaker, I'm this, but
Right.
focusing on it's bigger than me, and then everything else will come.
Yeah, and I think that's important for probably the people listening, but it's something that I've doubled down on recently, because I do have a lot of people that reach out to me and say, hey, I want to build my brand. You've built yours, and I'm saying, like, listen, that's awesome to be able to sort of add to and accentuate the reputation that you are, but building a brand with if you're trying to build a brand but you have a terrible reputation, first things first, right? Like figure out why you have this reputation, be honest with yourself, and go from there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, you also want to be good at what you do, because people are going to put you in rooms, or you may get opportunities, and because your brand, you may be in that room or maybe get an opportunity, and then they ask you to do the job. There's a big learning curve, right? And that may cause anxiety and other issues. So, yes, I think it's twofold. A brand is awesome, but at the same, is it better than a reputation? Absolutely not. So.
No.
Focus on first things first.
Definitely, which is the people. So, Tony the dad. I know this is a beloved conversation for you because you talk about it, and it seems like that is family is number one. And sometimes we get so busy in this career in multifamily and other careers out there, it will suck you in. I had a self-check moment. Mother's Day, I have a kindergartner. And he brought home a book that they had did in kindergarten, and it says, "What is your mom good at?" And he filled in the blank and he drew a picture. Well, he said, "Mom is good at working."
Ooh.
And I know, Tony, I know.
I hear you.
And he drew a picture of me sitting at my desk, and I was working from my home office at this time. And he drew a picture of himself standing in the doorway, and he drew an arch over his head to show me that it was the doorway. And not only was I sitting at my desk, he's a little shady booker. He also, I was doing this, looking back at him, and I said, "Well, what are my arms doing?" He said, "Well, Mama, you're yarning." So I'm tired. I'm working all the time, and I'm not balancing being a mom real well.
Mm.
And that's a moment when it happens.
It's a moment right now.
It is. Even to say it out loud, because that nobody strives to, one of the things I heard, one of my most favorite leaders in this industry one time, and I was younger, and she was taking her daughters to New York. And I was like, that is so cool. You're such a cool mom. And she was like, Ty, I missed so much time when they were growing up. Yeah. She was like, I'm not the mom that you think that I am. I was always working. And I think, especially with a mom, it's a hard balance and it has to be harder for a dad because the dad is the provider. And how do you balance it all? What do you do? When do you make the choice that no matter what, I'm not missing a game. I'm not missing a play. If the school calls, I'm leaving. Like, how do you balance it all?
Yeah, it's a great question, and thanks for sharing that story, because I think I too could probably be a better dad, better husband, but I think it starts there, that we all can be better. right? Um, but recently, I saw a video or a little meme video that says, "Be willing to lose opportunities or lose work or lose a job for the sake of your family." And so for me, that, and I think for you, that hit home, that you only have 24 hours in a day, and you only have so long that your children are the age they are.
Yeah.
And I think we know folks that have, built a career and have had a family, and those who haven't. The cards for you and I is that we have children.
Mhm.
Um, and I think our calling, when you are a parent, is to be a present parent. Can you still grow your career? I think so. I think you and me are good examples of that. If we didn't have, these nose pickers pulling us away, could we focus, 6 hours a day, 16 hours a day on our work? We probably could, but would we be the people we are today? Probably not,
Yeah.
right? And so I try to prioritize my family first. And fortunately, what I'm excited about is I think work culture is starting to evolve and change to support that, not just in lip service, but in real life. And
Mhm.
I'm fortunate here at RPM that my supervisors and leaders have, they also understand. Some have children, some don't, but they're not only supportive in lip service, but they're supportive in real life. Tomorrow I go to the water slides with them, right? And midweek, I don't like taking days off midweek and then coming back. I mean, it kind of just disrupts my week a bit. But um, you know, am I willing to disrupt my week for a day of memories and fun? Yeah, I am. I am. Um, that's not too much. That's not too much of my kids or my family to ask of me. So, you know, I could tell, I think both of us are a bit emotional because our family means a lot to us, and we wouldn't be where we're at without their support. And so, I think you take those moments, those drawing moments, and there's other moments that I see too, like, my kids have reminded me, like, Dad, I think, you need to put your phone down, right? And in
Yeah.
that moment, you want to be defensive, right? And be like, well, I'm following up on emails or whatever I'm doing. But I think it's important to listen to those soft little voices, that remind you,
It is.
and I recently I saw an image that I'm not sure if that's coming through. I recently saw an image that of a young child kind of trying to get the attention of a parent while that parent is just nose into a phone. And unfortunately, I probably find myself in that situation uh, more than I'd like to admit, to be honest. And so, but that image was very visceral for me and reminded me to put this darn thing down sometimes.
Yeah.
I wish, that's something I want to get better at. So, but I appreciate you sharing that story, and I feel like we could probably talk about this for a long time.
Well,
Because
I did not know. I knew when we talked about it, and that's why I saved it, that it would go there. But now I didn't know I was gonna cry my makeup off with you. So I'm glad I don't have no eyelashes on because they would be
they'd
sitting
be
on.
all falling off and the whole thing, but your audience would be crying at home and loving it. So all for the fans. But I love that you asked it. I love that it's so important to you. It's so important to me, and I take a lot of pride in being able to talk about that in a professional arena, but still drawing it back to a message that you know that people, on LinkedIn, for example. I mean, that's my professional life, but you want to know what fuels it? It's these guys.
Yeah. It definitely is. And I think it's such an important topic to talk about because whether you're a parent or not, sometimes you have leaders that are not parents. And I used to be a leader in this industry that was not a parent yet, and I
Right.
didn't understand. So hopefully there's leaders out there that are listening, and that if you are not a mom or dad, Let them people off work. Let them people go to the game.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that. And it was just like, can somebody else watch them? Because I was under stress as a leader. And sometimes when you're on site, there's only one leasing professional, there's only one assistant manager. So there's only one person to do that job.
Right.
And if there's a disruption in it, you know how property can flow.
Well, so a couple of things I think really take place, and it's exciting to see our industry sort of understand this. I think obviously with children and the culture, and I think the pandemic really shook up a lot of things for us to recognize what's important in our lives. But I think when you allow for flexibility for your team members on site or at corporate or wherever it may be, and you step in the gap to either cover that leasing tour or that move in or that report or that presentation, um, in their absence while they have to take care of an urgent need, it does a couple of things. A, it makes them feel really respected and appreciated and supported. Um, and it helps build that relationship between you and that associate even stronger. And ultimately, I think it pays dividends in the long run that they'll work harder for you if you're willing to sacrifice for them in that moment under the pressure that we are under sometimes as leaders. And it happens all the time, but I think if you just live and breathe that level of trust and respect for your team and support them along the way, because it comes back to you. You're going to need that from your supervisor or from them maybe that, hey, I have to run, this urgent situation arose. Can you get my back? And if you've gotten their back in the past, their answer is usually absolutely,
Yes.
take the time you need.
I definitely second that. I remember a time working at Finder, and I had just started, and I always go back to Finder because I had been in the industry way before then, but that was the first time that I had real leadership that cared, that inspired me, and that was just truly about the people. And I had started at Finder, and I'm from Little Rock, but I was in Memphis, and my sister got sick, had the swine flu and the H1N1.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Went down. She's great now. But
Okay.
I came home and I was worried, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go back to work. And they was like, Ty, don't call us talking about work. We will come in and cover your market, stay at home in Little Rock until your family situation is fine. And they allowed me the time that I needed, not worrying about work, not, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired from my job. And you said it. When I went back to Memphis, I ran like a fool.
You worked harder.
I did. And I made Rookie of the Year my first year as a Finder rep. And it was only because somebody created a space for me to thrive in. And so if you're out there and you're a leader, if you want to motivate your people, create a real space, a safe space for them to thrive in and watch them thrive. We are almost at the top of the hour, Tony. So, where is the industry going? Where's the future of multifamily? What do you see?
Gosh, well, I think we touched on a little bit about the culture, where the culture is going. I think it's becoming more of a supportive culture. I think people like you and others, and even myself, can play a role in really trying to continue to support this culture of supporting our employees and trusting them and challenging them and all those sorts of things. And I try to double down on that. I know you do too. As far as the industry where it's going, I mean, I think technology is not going anywhere. And I think I'll be honest to those in this industry, if you're afraid of technology or afraid of learning what AI means, artificial intelligence, and how that's going to affect the industry, you're going to be behind. So I would encourage you to embrace technology, to understand what it does and how it can help our industry. I think there's going to be elements of different parts of our job that technology will attempt to automate or take. And so they may happen, they may not happen, but what's going to be key for you as an associate is to continue to learn how to be valuable and understand the technology and work alongside it and improve the technology, but at the same time improve yourself and the value that you offer your company. So I think, obviously, it's probably a cliche answer that technology is the future. It is. The future is now, and the future is here. And so I really want to encourage your audience and anyone listening that to really jump in, ask people questions, even dumb questions. Maybe go to your friends first, so you don't feel insecure about any technology
Mhm.
questions you may have, and maybe you've just kind of been out of the game for a little while. But find the answers you need to find, learn what you need to learn, and continue to make yourself as valuable as you possibly can for your company and for the industry.
No, I definitely agree, and I don't think technology sounds cliche. Just had a AI session with my girl Dana
Oh
Duckworth.
wow, yeah.
So if you guys are out there and you don't know anything about AI Chat GBT, Dana Duckworth, hit her up right now. She is hilariously unemployed, so she got time. Hit her up, inbox her on LinkedIn, set up a session with her to go over it. It changed my entire life. And when I started using it, I was like, when I was a leasing professional, when I was a property manager, like there's every role that I've ever been in this industry could have benefited from that technology. So, guys, I am Ty Jackson. I appreciate you spending your lunch hour with us today, tuning in to have the live conversation. We appreciate all the comments, the feedback. Like, we feed off of what you guys say in the chat, so we really appreciate that. Tony, it's been exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be an inspiring conversation. I knew that you were going to touch some things in me, and I just knew that it was going to be a real and authentic conversation. You forever have a friend in me. If you see me at any event, I am going to be the tall black woman. My hair probably will be different, but this voice will be the same.
No, I'll see your face and I'll run to you to give you a hug. This has been, I thought it would be great, but it's been 10 times what I even thought. So it's been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Tony Sousa with RPM Living. Guys, if you're looking for an opportunity out there, they have to have an amazing culture and amazing company, because people like Tony are at the forefront of leadership at that company. So, Tony, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for being honest and authentic with me and my platform today. And have an amazing Tuesday.
Oh, same to you, Ty. This has been an amazing experience. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.